everyone, and thanks for joining us for Making Sales Social Live, coming to you from the Social Sales Link virtual studios. I'm Bob Woods. Stan Robinson Jr. and Bryn Tillman are here as well. Sup, guys?
Woohoo! Excited
Howdy.
to be here.
Excellent. Very good. We are ready and raring to go here because we at Social Sales Link have declared the year 2026 as the year of the referral. Just in case you didn't know about that, you know it now. So now, though, we have a system that has a new acronym and everything, just like a shiny new car. It's a shiny new acronym. It's going to help you both generate referrals and give them to your referral partners as well. And referrals, they get overlooked, guys, but they should be the lifeblood of any salesperson's prospecting efforts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say, throughout my entire sales career, which started in 1990, before I had email, before I had a mobile phone, before there was internet, right? Referrals were still at the heart of our business development. Part of it was we would sit with a client and say, hey, I'm so glad we've been able to help you solve X, right? And then we'd say, so who do you know that could use our services the way you have? And they would all go, I don't know. Right. Exactly. Right. Like, I have no idea who I know that you want to know.
Right.
And that's what LinkedIn changes. And that's what's so exciting about this conversation, because LinkedIn gives us the ability to filter and search our connections, to identify who our clients and referral partners know that we want to meet, and leverage that relationship to get warm introductions. Instead of just saying, who do you know? Say, hey, by the way, I happen to notice you're connected to quite a few people I'd like to get in touch with. Can I run these names by you? So all of a sudden, and that is, by the way, why I teach LinkedIn for sales. This was the one area that I saw very, very early on, and really just transformed the way that we prospect. And so, since then, we talk about it a lot, but it's been a while since we've talked about it on Making Sales Social Live. So I'm excited that we're talking about it today. And to Bob's point, we now have an acronym to help you follow a process. So, Stan, what are your thoughts?
Good.
Yes.
Good. Yeah, the everything we're talking about is predicated on your having delivered value to the person that you're asking for a referral from first.
Yep.
Because without that, nothing else works.
Yep.
If you haven't delivered the value, you haven't earned the right to ask for access to their network.
I love that you started with that. That is so critically important. Bob, did you want to add to that?
I was going to say, yeah. So just don't start cold calling first degree connections out of the blue and they don't even know who you are. I think is the big one to take from there, because that just makes for a very awkward conversation, and that'll damage you in the long term in the eyes of those people who you do it to as well, because you're not practicing what you preach in terms of delivering value, just like Stan said, because that's got to be number
It's
one.
the foundation. Yeah. And here's the thing about getting introductions. Often we'll say, what is the goal of that introduction? And, as the seller, you think the goal is that I get to talk with a prospect that comes in, into my ecosystem at a high level of credibility and with trust. And sure, but my goal every time I get an introduction is that the person I'm introduced to goes back to the introducer and says, man, that was a great conversation. Thanks for making that happen. Right? My goal ultimately is to make the person that I've asked to go out of their way to spend their relationship capital to introduce me, I want them to look really good. And when that is the goal, then you also are respecting the most important relationship, which is the first one, not the new one.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
Right. So, Bob, let's go into our new acronym.
What is
our new acronym, my friend?
I don't know if you can hear that. That's supposed to be a drum roll. You probably can't hear it. Warm-ups. The acronym is warm-ups, and that's also the secret password, but that's a really old reference that most people probably don't get.
I don't get. What's the password from?
Password. It's from the old game show Password, and there always used to be a secret word, a secret
Oh,
password.
that's right. I used to
Oh,
I loved that show. That's
Yeah.
right. I forgot. Okay.
It's really old, and all the young people are right now going, "What are they talking about?" So, warm-ups, it's an acronym where we're gonna be going through them, each letter one at a time and describing them. So, the very first one, and I'm just gonna kinda read the a quick definition of it, and then we'll go into more detail when it's absolutely needed. So, the, W in warm-ups is who to target. So this is all about building your ICP list before you ask for anything. Sounds kind of like a, well, yeah, of course you're going to do it. You'd be surprised at how many people don't do this. So you need to define your ideal client profile so your referral partner can say, yeah, I do know. So, I do know that person without them having to guess. And just like we said at the very beginning, have them go, just because they're not in that frame of mind and they have no idea. You need to get them started down the path so that they can give you more referrals.
Yeah. Stan, do you want to hop in or should I go?
go ahead.
Okay. So, this is something that is really very simple to do, and very few people really leverage it. In the free LinkedIn, you can filter and search your ICP or your ideal client profile. You've got lots of filters, right? If you go into the search bar and hit enter and then go into all filters and people, we can identify people by industry. We can identify, there's a ton of different filters we can choose from. What we want to do in this case, I'll give you two paths. The first path is to click second degree connection and connection of. So in the filters, we can go in and I can say, okay, Bob, my wonderful client who's, we've been able to bring lots of value to, I can create my ideal client profile and click on second degree relationship and then connections of Bob Woods. And I will now get a list of folks that Bob knows that matches my criteria. So here's the challenge with this. If you have more, or if your target has more than 1,000 connections, LinkedIn is actually only going to look at 1,000 connections. So Bob might have 7,000 or 8,000 connections. I'm only going to get a small percentage of the people he actually knows. So let's try this, the second pathway, which I love the most, which is we create that search with all of our filters, but now we're going to do first degree connection. When I hit enter, I'm going to get all of my first degree connections that match my ideal customer profile. But that link that you get in the URL is a universal link. So if I click on that link and I send it to Stan, and now Stan and I are on a call, and I say, hey, Stan, if you click through this link, you're going to see a list of people that you're connected to that I likely want to have a conversation with. Would you mind sharing your screen and we can run through this list together, and maybe you'd be open to making some introductions or permission to name drop. So I know I went through a lot of, probably almost all of warm-ups, but we'll break it down a little bit more. But I did want to give that whole picture because, when we start to talk about what does this process look like, that was the cover of the puzzle box, right? I just gave you the cover. Now we'll go through the puzzle pieces. So W, who to target, is the first piece. Bob, what's the second piece? What's the A?
The A is ask for the conversation. So reach out now to a client, colleague, fellow connector who you have built trust with. That gets back to the very beginning thing that we talked about. You have to build trust before you can even ask about these things. Then ask them for, just 15 to 20 minutes to catch up. If you're on a Zoom or, in person, go out to coffee or something like that. Catch up and explore who you might be able to help each other connect with. And I think that's important too, because you're going to want to help them just as much as they're helping you.
Yeah. Great point as far as both ways. Make sure you offer to share referrals with them as well. So it's reciprocal. The other thing that's powerful about LinkedIn is that it makes their job so much easier. As Bryn mentioned, when they click on the link, they see people as opposed to trying to figure out who your ICP is. Because most people that you've helped are willing to help you, but they're busy and you know their ICP, your ICP, even if you try to describe it to them, it's still going to be hard for them to get their head around. But they can look at a list of names and pictures and say, okay, this person good, this person no, and go through it with you really quickly. So you're just making their life so much easier.
Yeah, I love that. And, if this is a networking partner, different than a client, I would highly recommend you teaching them how to create their own link so that they can use it. Both you can search your connections and then share that link with them. And now you've become incredibly, resourceful for them. And, you could change their whole prospecting game just simply by teaching this. So it's a win-win for everybody. The interesting thing with clients, and it really depends, like we work with clients in the sales world, so that reciprocal is critically important. But if you're working with like an IT person or someone in HR, they may not have a specific person they are looking to meet. So think about other things you might do. So if they were a client of yours, this is sort of a side note, where the reciprocal may not be introductions. It might be that you recommend them because they were great to work with, right? Or you just endorse a skill or two. So just sharing that extra step of appreciation is really important. So I love that.
Yep.
R.
Yeah, this isn't going to be a pirate thing. Review the names together. I'm just gonna.
Yeah, no, we could go off on too many tangents, Bob. Too many tangents.
Yeah. Review the names together. So, this is going to take a little prep work, but this is all about prep. So that's actually a good thing. Come prepared with a short list of people you would like to meet, and then ask your referral partner to flag anyone who fits. And then, especially if they've gotten that link from you already, ask them to bring a list of people too. So, give them context though, not homework. Why you think that these people who you're asking about, why you want to talk to them and things like that. And always keep in mind that, as we all have thousands, hundreds and thousands of connections, the other person may look at this list and go, okay, well, I know this guy and I know this gal. This one, I think I remember them. And these last two, I literally don't have a clue as to when. So, I mean, you definitely need to have a list of several people going in, because otherwise it could, if you only bring one or two and it falls in that, I have no idea who these people are category. Wah, wah. So, yeah.
Yeah, I believe LinkedIn said in some report a few years back that the average person knows between 10 and 20% of their connections. So, if you bring a list where, that first path where you've created that list and you bring 10 names, you can expect one or two to come out of that. Yep. When you give them the link, you may get 80 or 90 names that come up, right? And that may seem like a huge number. But here's what I think. If you're on a Zoom, and I do love if you're networking and you're in person, that's great. But for a client, being on Zoom might be the best way to do this, because you can have them share their screen and your note taker can now record who they know. So they could go through this really quickly. And then ultimately, you don't have to take a lot of notes, because you can come back to the recording and grab the people. They said, I know them, I don't know them. The other piece of this, I think that's our next M, so I don't want to jump ahead. Another piece of the puzzle that I'm about to jump ahead in. So Stan, add to review the names together before I move ahead.
Just as Bryn mentioned, it's a great idea to do this on a Zoom call because you can record it. If you're not doing it on a Zoom call, it's probably a good idea to somehow either print out the list of names or put it in a document so you can quickly make notes. That's the one thing you lose kind of if you're in person, you need to do some prep. So you're not, slowing down the conversation by saying, oh, okay, let me write this down. Come prepared.
Yeah, I feel like the note taker has revolutionized our world when it comes
really
to
has.
taking notes. It's amazing how much more effective we can be if we're leveraging that technology for sure.
Yeah.
And
100%.
AI along with it, right? Like it could be magic.
100%. 100%. So next, let's get to, we're going to complete the warm and warm ups with the M, which is make the ask. So for each name they identify, just ask, it's very simple. Would you be comfortable with either making an intro, or would it be okay if I mentioned your name? Both options work. Let them choose what feels right. That one's pretty simple. I think the advantage there's a slight advantage to what we call permission to name drop, which is if you ask them to, and they're cool with name dropping, then you're in much more control of the process as opposed to them. But intros are actually stronger, I think. But there's that, there's
It's a
that.
give and take. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll just piggyback on that and then throw it to Stan. But I agree with you, Bob. I think the permission to name drop, in my opinion, is my favorite way to do this because I keep control of the sales cycle.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to share, I had a client, and we're all good now, but I had gone through this process and she said, absolutely, I'm happy to make these introductions, and then didn't because she got busy, right? And then what ended up happening was she started to ghost me, even though we had such a great relationship. And the reason was she was embarrassed that she hadn't fulfilled her promise. So I personally now, and we had a good giggle and it's all good, and I ended up doing the permission to name drop. And while it may not be at the level of effectiveness, because we can do so many more, because we can't ask someone to make an introduction to 12 people, but we can ask for permission to name drop 12 people, that we actually end up on a lot more conversations. Right. And personally, and I don't know if I think I'm okay to say this. I don't know if I'm jumping ahead. I always do, but I will often start the message with, hey, Stan, Bob Woods and I were chatting the other day. He says, hello, your name came up. And that, when you start the conversation with your shared connection name, typically that will inch up that credibility just a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah. Only thing that comes to mind for me is if they offer to introduce you to someone, then that's one time you may want to just take them up on it. If they take the initiative to say, hey, we golf every weekend, let me introduce you. But otherwise, yeah, you definitely maintain control if you just name drop.
Yep.
Perfect. All right, we're in the upside.
But before we do that, and this is something I was going to tell you about earlier today, and I totally forgot. I want to drop in just a really quick commercial here, and that's about our Be Our Guest to Coaching sessions, which are every month. You go to socialsaleslink.com/events. And you can sign up we've got June and July up there. You can sign up, and rather than listening to us live or on recordings, and if you're listening to us live, you can't really talk to us on, via messaging. If you want all three of us live, that is the best way to do it. Be Our Guest to Coaching. And I'm going to put that up really quick as soon as there we go. There we go. Be our guest to coaching, free. Socialsaleslink.com/events. You just sign up there. You show up. You can ask us anything you want to about LinkedIn, social selling, sales navigator, AI for sales, and we will answer it directly for you. Just like all the three of us are having a conversation, we can have that same conversation. So We would love to see you all there. And we always have at least 2 months up too, usually the current month and then the next month. So if you can't make it this month, show up next month. We would love to see you and speak with you directly.
Awesome.
So,
okay, now
commercial. Ups. The Ewan warm-ups. Use the connection to reach out, which is what Bryn just said. So send
knew I
that
jumped
warm
ahead.
live message that references the shared connection. But lead with context and relevance. Definitely don't do pitches. I mean, you've heard us talk endlessly about not pitching and everything else. That probably doubly applies here, triply, quadruply applies here, because if you lead with the pitch, you're not only making yourself look bad, but you're also making the person who referred you or gave you the permission to name drop look bad as well.
I think that I pretty much stated my thoughts on that out of order, or in order, but prematurely. But
Yep.
I do think when you name drop your connection, your shared connection, it makes all the difference in the world. So,
Yeah.
Well,
Sounds good. So thanks, Jason. Appreciate that. So the P and warm-ups is this one's simple. Put it on the calendar. Your first message has one goal, and that's to get that meeting scheduled. But at the same time, keep it simple, keep it low pressure, and especially keep clear about what's in it for them, which is an exchange of referrals. You're not just going to them to tap their network. They're coming to you to tap your network as well.
anything you want to add to that?
No,
that one's simple, but yeah, if you want to add to it, go ahead, Bryn.
Yeah, I was going to say, go ahead, Bryn, on that one, because I know the question in a lot of people's mind is, in the message, you mentioned referencing the person who made the referral. Now, I was just talking to Bob. Your name came up. Bob says, hi. And I was able to offer the next part of the message in terms of the value that you were able to offer Bob and why it would make sense to get together. What do you say there? Because I guarantee that's the question in most people's mind.
Yeah, I love that. So if Bob is a client versus a networking partner, for sure, I might say, we've been working with Bob for the last year to do this, this, and that. He thought I could bring value to a conversation for you in a similar way. Whether or not we decide to work together, I'm confident that a conversation can offer some insights and value that are meaningful. Please let me know your preferred way of scheduling. If it happens to be via calendar link, here's mine, right? That's the low pressure piece, right? I'm going to bring you value even if we decide not to work together. And I think, that transition of this is why Bob thought we should talk is huge, right? Because I am now leveraging my relationship with Bob to talk with Stan. So when Stan hears Bob thought we should have this conversation and believes that I'll bring you value even if we don't work together, gives me that credibility and that trust. The other thing is we want to schedule. I love calendar links. You guys know I love calendar links. It just makes everything so much easier. But there's a presumption that the receiver may feel that it's a little pushy or a little aggressive. I do want to assume the conversation because, if Bob said Stan and I should talk, Stan and I should talk. So to soften that with, please let me know your preferred way of scheduling, I'm assuming we're going to schedule. But I'm offering you the opportunity to say, I don't like those calendar links. I prefer to schedule this way. I have had people respond with their assistant, or here's an email with my assistant. Please reach out to her. She can help us schedule. I have had people send me back their calendar link to schedule. We are respecting the way they want to do business. And that is such a powerful way to start off that conversation.
Yeah, because keep in mind, if they send you their calendar thing, it may be because there are other processes that happen in the background, like tech-wise or whatever, when they schedule something that that, if you use your Zoom, they lose out whatever it is that they lose out in, but they have to do things a certain way. So, I wouldn't necessarily be offended if someone sends you their link just because there may be tech things
I
going on
love it.
behind the scenes. Yeah, that are.
To me, it's interesting you said offended, because to me, I prefer it. There's a less chance that they'll cancel or reschedule when it's on their link than when it's on mine.
That's another excellent point too. That's a fantastic point. Absolutely. So now let's get to the S, which is shine the spotlight on your referrer. So this is when you're going to close the loop. You can't let the person who's helped you out with all this stuff, just let them hang. And, at some point they might think, I wonder how that went. So you need to let your referral partner know how the conversation or conversations, depending on how many actually it went, and then thank them publicly when it makes sense too, because that's great, because it shows appreciation. It's also content. And refer back, and then obviously keep on referring, keep the relationship up, especially if both of you are truly in a win-win and you're getting out of it. Just keep that ball rolling, essentially. So yeah, absolutely.
Stan, do you want to say anything before I kind of close it out?
Just it's something you have to remember to do, because everyone's busy. And you're focused on getting the conversation and then following up on the conversation. So however you remind yourself, put a tickler in your calendar, whatever the case may be, make sure to reach back out to the person that gave you the introduction.
Yeah, I'm going to do the full circle here, because I started with the most important goal of this is that the person that made the introduction looks great. Right? That's the most important thing. That Stan goes back to Bob and says, Bob, thank you so much for introducing me to Bryn. That was an awesome conversation. Right? And so the shine the spotlight on the referrer is, I guess there's a few layers to that, right? There's the layer of make sure you say really great things on the call, make sure that you follow up with that referrer and thank them for it. But also the idea that when the person that you had the new conversation with goes back to that referrer, they are like all in. They're not like, oh my God, I can't believe that she tried to pitch me right away, right? The goal is to bring that value, to deliver on the promise. If your promise is to bring value, then the goal of that call is to bring value, and maybe earn the right to get a discovery call. Don't look at this first call as a discovery call. It might be a discovery call light. You want to learn about them, but it's not an all-in one way. Let me see how I can sell you. Really, the goal is I want to bring value to you and earn the right to get a second call.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of that full circle.
Yeah.
Bob, take us for a landing, my friend. Oops, sorry, go ahead.
That sounds good. Yeah. So we appreciate you joining us here on Making Sales Social Live. We're here every week, Mondays at 12:30 p.m. Eastern in the U.S. So put a block on your calendar for us and show up. We'd love it. If you're listening to this as a recording on our podcast, go ahead and hit that subscribe or follow button if you haven't done so already to access all of our previous shows and be alerted when new ones drop. And of course, likes and comments are always appreciated as well. Besides these live episodes, we also interview leaders and experts in sales, marketing, business, many, many more areas. So catch those as well. Socialsaleslink.com/podcast is where you want to go if you want more details about all of the things that we do in our podcast. So when you're out and about this week, every week, no matter what, no matter when, well, maybe not quite that much, but whenever you're out and about, be sure to make your sales
social. Not terribly in key there, but we did okay.